Welcome to the wrap. George, Ringer. It's almost February.
Almost February.
Hard to believe we're almost through the month of
Well,
January.
it is. Yeah, you know.
It's melting outside. It got above 20 degrees and all of a sudden we got meltage.
Yeah, well, that's okay. Wait for it in a couple of hours. It'll get unmelted pretty quick.
It's going to turn on us in a hurry.
Yeah.
Here, but
Well,
we're
it's
going to
cool.
take this day.
Hey, whatever. It's still making good ice for the icemen, and I don't want to go out there anyway, so everybody seems to be happy.
Stopped at the radio station this afternoon. I saw a picture of an almost 2-pound crappie
Oh, wow.
caught on Rainy Lake.
Yeah, those are slabs, and you hear about them, and I you know, they're a lot of
My
fun to
mouth is
catch.
watering. Sorry if there's anything coming. I'm just
No.
thinking about a nice piece of crappie.
Oh.
Haven't had that in a while.
No. Well, there you are.
It is what it is. You make choices in your life, and you got to move on.
Well, that's right.
That's the way things go. I suppose we got to talk football first.
You know, I'm still suffering from the hangover of Saturday and Sunday. The first game, I thought, this is one of the best playoff games I've ever seen. The second game was, oh my God, this was just as good. And then the next day,
it got crazier.
It got crazier. And you know, and I mean, it's not just me saying that. Every journalist I saw on TV had his mouth wide open because they actually couldn't believe what they were seeing. I mean, 25 points in a minute and 50 seconds. This just isn't done.
Well, you know, the scary part about it was Monday morning I saw somebody, ESPN, CBS, somebody.
Yeah.
I follow a lot of them on my phone. I get notifications. And they were saying, is the Chiefs-Bills game the best playoff game ever? And I'm like, you know, I'm thinking immaculate reception. I'm thinking San Diego, the Miami Dolphins in about '83 when they basically had to carry Kellen Winslow off the field. The Music City Miracle. I'm thinking about this. And are these total games or are these last moment things? And of course, this had kind of all of it. But it was a classic.
Well, every one of those games that you talked about were considered one of the best games ever played. And you know, and when you have Franco Harris scooping up from his toenails and waltzing in for the winner,
yeah.
You can't make that stuff up.
That's 50 years ago, I think.
Well, I remember it like it was yesterday. In fact, they were.
I think I've seen it so many times it feels like it was yesterday.
Yeah. This is, and I don't even want to go into Franco Harris, but I was looking at a thing in 1971. The Heisman Trophy winner was Lydell Mitchell, and his running back, the guy that created the Heisman Trophy for that guy, was Franco Harris. He was the finest blocking back in college football. He was the finest blocking back or anybody else had ever seen, and you knew he could carry the ball a little bit. You didn't know that he was actually as tough. But we started watching him when he was a sophomore, and we used him as a clinic, how to block downfield, how to hook up and just keep on going, and these were all really good football players. How many guys are going to go to the Hall of Fame that were playing in these two games? Or in fact, the next two games that come, on Sunday, there's more All-Pros and future Hall of Famers in this game than just about anything I can remember.
It's good stuff.
Yeah.
3 of the 4 games were upsets.
Yes.
I thought the 4th one was going to be.
Well, home field advantage kind of took a wash.
So which was the biggest upset of them all? Of the 3 upsets, which one was the biggest one?
Well, I guess I'd probably have to go with Cincinnati. I mean, they're still in the process of proving they are who they are, and although they've thrown up some fantastic numbers and can do some really good things, this was a big game for the Bengals. For the
Hadn't won in 31 years.
Yes.
The week before they went at home.
Yes.
Now they went on the road.
They went on the road.
It's a big deal.
It is a big deal.
I don't know if you heard about this, and I don't know if it's true or not because obviously I wasn't there. But Evan McPherson, the field goal kicker for Cincinnati, did you hear what he said to Joe Burrow before he went out to kick the game winner? I guess we're going to the AFC Championship game. This was before he kicked the ball. before he kicked the ball.
Kicker's amazing. I think sometimes they run out in that field and they know they're going to miss, and then other times they go out there and they already have this. They have this visualization. They practice this.
Think about this now. 4 games, 4 kicks as time expires. 3 to win with a game tied, and 1 to tie the game to force it to overtime. That's pressure kicks. They made them all. One was only 30 yards. The one for the Rams was only 30 yards. But Butker's, right, for Kansas City, his was 49. McPherson's was 52.
52 yards. These guys were booting them from way out there, and
this is in colder weather when the ball's not supposed to be easy to do, folks.
No, if I sat down and thought which was the most fun game, it probably would have been San Francisco and Green Bay.
Because?
Well, because you take San Francisco into this totally alien environment, and I mean, you saw the Cheeseheads. It's alien, and it's just it's snowing, it's cold, it's miserable, and the boys were ready to play.
Yeah, I only got to listen to it on the radio, on my phone actually, on XM, as I was at my daughter's house, and she doesn't have TV.
Oh boy!
So that was, I kind of had to use my imagination a little bit, but I could envision the boys on the radio were doing their best to give us the coverage of it, and it was a Saturday. Like I said, I listened to both games on the radio, didn't see a play of either game on Saturday, and it was. Yeah, it was like the old days because we got so used to watching everything on TV, and even here, putting it on here. And
I thought, going in, if Nick Bosa and it has a good game, and Deebo Samuels is going to have a good game because he does not have a good game. And then what is that versus? Well, it's Aaron Donald, Von Miller. Miller was incredible, and Cooper Kupp. No, so you got some matched up. These guys are all extremely good athletes, and they're very, very good football players.
Going to be a great one. They've already got to play each other twice. So
they already did.
I don't think they really are going to be able to hide much.
No.
They're not going to come up with probably something new.
But they'll look for something. Something certainly could break. There could be, and in fact, when you watch Kansas City play, you realize. There was no way that they were going to catch Hill. It just isn't going to happen. Nobody else can. Why would they be able to? And so, he oh my God, he's open. He's going to score.
That's where I was at. Oh my gosh, he's going to score.
He's going to score.
He's going to score,
Yeah, and it's, you see these guys, and I'm just sometimes overwhelmed with the physical, athletic ability that they have. Speed, strength, jumping, catching. I watched a couple of the receivers. I can't even remember which game it was. He had a coach out there, and the coach was throwing one-handed shots to this side, so he'd catch them one-handed to this side. I was amazed at the coach, man, and those were clean spirals, and he put them right, and there was he's practicing one-handed catches. I've taught tight ends. I didn't do the one-handed catch thing. I now I know what I was missing.
Well, it's just something like I said. You keep coaches finding new drills, new ways to do
all the
do
time.
Things,
Yeah,
so.
yeah.
I have to throw Antoine Winfield under the bus on the Cooper Kupp catch to set up the field goal. He got doing this. That's all it took. Just a little look to the inside to make sure. And Kupp was by.
Kupp was gone, and Winfield had an incredible game up to that point. But it's like I don't know why, either in Kupp or Samuels, they insist on doing them one-on-one. That's not going to work out. And I watched Kupp run these people over, and then the other thing about Samuels, I didn't realize how big he was.
He's a big boy.
He's a big boy, and he does not mind hitting. Yeah. And it's and it's like, whoa. And they didn't.
He's physical.
He's physical.
I was watching a little bit of the post-game coverage after the Tampa Bay and LA game, they never once mentioned Antoine Winfield by name. Now, how in the heck? They don't have any problem throwing other guys under the bus. I mean, it wasn't his fault. Yeah, it was his fault in that situation, but it wasn't his fault for the game. I mean, Tampa Bay dug themselves a hole that they almost got out of scarily. We haven't even mentioned the GOAT almost pulling it off again. But to me, it was kind of like...
Well, and it helped. I mean, Tyler Johnson had himself a beautiful one-hand snap on the line, and you knew, and you still do know, that someday he's going to be an outstanding receiver. Antoine Winfield, we know he was going to be good. I had no idea he was going to be that good.
Those things happen.
They do. You're playing against some of the finest offensive players in the world, and,
secondary guys get chastised, whatever, because they play too deep and prevent coverage, and they let the ball get in front of them, and then somebody like Tyreek Hill makes a catch and runs it in. Oh, here's Antoine Winfield, probably playing up a little too tight, took a little peek into the backfield to read the quarterback's eyes, and it was over. He's by him right now, and hey, it happens. And so I ask this now, I'm changing gears, but staying with football. Tom Brady, retired?
No.
What about Aaron Rodgers?
Jesus. You got to consider this possibility. There's people from Green Bay that are going to infiltrate the Minnesota Vikings. And I'm just saying is that he's going to go somewhere, I think.
He's not going to be a Packer next
I don't think
fall.
he'll be a Packer next year. And there's plenty of other teams that, and they sit around. I mean, hey, compared to Brady, he's young. So, and he's flexible. He moves around well. He has a lot of irons in the fire. You have to judge your quarterback by the kind of insurance commercials that they're doing, but he seems to be successful there. And like you talked to Michael Strahan, who in my estimation was one of the best defensive ends ever, and all of a sudden he says, no, I want to go into broadcasting, and the man's been a total superstar. And you just sit back and when we talked about a number of years ago, Herb Cross breaking into it, he was the first black guy and actually one of the first football analysts that came in from the secondary, was able to talk X's and O's and be able to explain it to the general population. Strahan does that all the time, and I like the teams that they put together. I hate to say it, the Fox things, with Bradshaw and these guys, they are funny, and if you listen to them, they know what they're talking about.
Yep, absolutely.
Now, Bradshaw thinks he knows a lot what he's talking about, and I'm sure that he does. He just can't pick teams very well. I feel akin to that.
Yeah. So, well, I think Aaron Rodgers could do the Tom Brady thing, and somebody mentioned this to me a couple weeks ago about quarterbacks such as Kirk Cousins, rather than getting paid $32 million a year or $34 million a year, why don't you take $18 million a year and defer some of that money to the future and let your team sign a wide receiver or a running back or defensive ends or whatever.
Well, you're going to have to do that.
I mean, that's what Tom Brady's done throughout his career. He's restructured his contract so there was more money in the pot to give to these other players so that they could win championships. Some of these quarterbacks are making obscene amounts of money, and I'm not saying they're not worth it, but I think they could do more there for their team if they were allowed to do that.
That's right.
And I think that's where Aaron Rodgers fits into. He's got a big price tag, and Green Bay's kind of strapped a little bit on how much they can pay everybody else. So he's going to want money, Aaron Rodgers.
Well, Big Ben Roethlisberger said that about T.J. Watt. Pay him what he wants. Why? Because without him, we don't have a very good football team. And so, he comes right out and says, and that's about a defensive guy. So, these guys know, they've been around. So, yeah, you very well could be right. I don't know exactly what Cousins wants or what Rodgers wants for the rest of their career. I mean, Aaron Rodgers has been touching the clouds for a long time. Once he's been to the Super Bowl in 17 years.
39 wins during the regular season and no Super Bowls in the last 3 years. So, how long does Matt LaFleur in Green Bay keep getting well, you win during the regular season, but you can't win the big one. How long before people start detracting what he's doing a great job. Don't get me wrong, folks. Matt LaFleur is doing a great job. I'm just saying there's those bungholes out there that are going to say, hey, he can't win the big game. Let's get somebody else new in here. And it's just like,
we know how Green Bay fans can be, and they expect results. And it's just and if their name is Bart Starr attached to that, all the better. They love heritage. They love myth. They like to win.
Okay, but I'm going to put this out there. They're in the same place that the Vikings are now. They didn't win a Super Bowl. They won 13 games. Yeah, the Vikings didn't make the playoffs, whatever. They're in the same place as the Vikings were. So
there's just one game difference. I mean,
so I understand. That's the semantics of it all. But I mean, to me, it's something that Green Bay's got a lot to be proud of. They've been the dominant force in the NFC North for a lot of years, and I don't know.
Like you talked, Brady put money. He put money and investment into his offensive line. That was good for Brady and good for the team. And
you got to protect your health.
You got to protect your health. And and the Vikings have one of the smallest offensive lines in the league, and it's been patched over so many times you don't know where the Band-Aids begin. I hope that they can piece that together a little bit. Defensive line, there were times that they were great. The secondary, I don't know. I mean, I know that they're probably getting a little ancient now, but we had a couple of linebackers back there that Kendricks was incredible most of the season, the last 2 seasons. And so, the rest of it, I suspect is going to go by the way of Mike Zimmer, because he picked the.
Speaking of the Vikings, we might as well stay there. I brought a piece of paper so I could try to say his name correctly, because I don't necessarily have the correct pronunciation. But I'm going to go with Kwesi. Could be Kwesi. Kwesi, Kwesi.
Kwesi, I think.
Kwesi. Adolfo Mensah is the new general manager for the Minnesota Vikings, and he comes from the Cleveland Browns, and he was with the San Francisco 49ers a few years ago. And so the pundits are saying that 49ers defensive coordinator DeMarco Ryans is the next head coach for the Minnesota Vikings, because they were with the Niners together.
I just want to say these are all mentored by John Lynch, who, in my humbled opinion, is probably the best general manager there is in the league. He's never not known success in the NFL, and certainly as a general manager, these are the kind of men that he produces. So that's good on his resume.
Yeah, I know Mike Bolstead said this morning he wasn't too happy that it was a guy from Cleveland. Well, don't forget, Cleveland for a few years was the laughing stock, basically, of the NFL. They've been pretty good the last couple of years. And so, obviously, like I said, this guy came from the 49ers, now with the Browns, now he's the new GM.
They've lived in every major city in the country, and they do this at ease. And so, and besides, the Browns. Who wouldn't want to go play for the Browns? They got a great history. Paul Browns, Jim Brown, all the Browns played there.
Yeah. I think I saw someplace, and don't quote me on this, it's not on this sheet of paper, but I think this guy's only 41. So
he's young.
He's young, he's got some energy.
And talented.
Hopefully he's going to get things going in the right direction. Hopefully they'll hire a coach sooner rather than later.
Are they going through the process on that as we speak?
Well, the comment here says the 49ers defensive coordinator, DeMarco Ryans, who was a quality control and inside linebackers coach for the 49ers during the final 3 seasons that Adolfo Mensah spent with the franchise from 2017 to 2019, was Minnesota's last head coach interview in the initial round on Sunday.
Interesting.
Can we see possibly a combination between these two guys working together? Seems reasonable. Mike Bolstead said it's a done deal. He says DeMarco Ryans is the next head coach. He said, put it down. It's a done deal, and I think he's probably right on that thought. So.
Well, we've got to start somewhere.
Let's talk about this Sunday's games.
Let's do that.
We got the Niners at the LA Rams.
Yes.
These two teams don't like each other.
No.
These two towns don't like each other.
No.
They're already fighting over tickets to get into the
bet they
stadium,
are.
how much money they're going to pay, and et cetera.
What, in LA can't be very much.
Oh, my brother, Pittsburgh Steelers fan, he wanted to buy a ticket to go watch the Pittsburgh Steelers in LA. No, the cheapest ticket was like $400 in the top row.
Oh boy.
That was the cheapest ticket. So you talked $600 for the Seattle Kraken, $400 to go watch a regular season game, not even the first game. He said no. So I can imagine these tickets are going to be in the $1,000 range. People are sure are asking for, and they're probably going to get it.
They might.
So you take it.
Well, I'll tell you, I've always been a San Francisco fan, and I really do like San Francisco, but I also like LA. And I say, we've got these paired attractions, McDonald, Boza, Samuels, and Cup, and these guys are just going to be exciting to watch. And I see LA a field goal in overtime.
Okay, I was going to say 24-20 the Rams. So I think we agree. We think the Rams are going to win at home. Won't surprise me if the 49ers win. Won't surprise me a bit that it's going to be close.
Well, you take a look at Jimmy Garoppolo's hand, the way it's wired up there. I mean, he has that thing, the shape of a football, and but he was able to throw with it, and
it'll be a lot warmer in LA than it was in Green Bay.
Oh, I think so. No, what San Francisco did in Green Bay is one of those epic football games. I mean, I'm not saying it was a Bills-Chiefs game, but boy, it was really close.
And I didn't see the block punt. I've yet to see the block punt. That's 4 days later. I haven't seen it. I mean, it was legit. I mean, it was.
No, it was legit.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So we got the NFC. How about the AFC? Now we got the Chiefs hosting the Bengals.
Yeah. I think it could be that the Bengals are going to. There's a lot of that going on. And I think the Bengals might just run out of luck on this one.
Okay.
I hate to say it. I wanted the Bills to beat the Chiefs, and the Chiefs kind of they and it's a cliche. They find a way to win. They find a way to win, Tim.
We didn't mention 25-yard line, 13 seconds.
13 seconds.
Field goal to tie it. I mean, come on. It's not supposed to work that way.
Not what's supposed to work like that. And you saw him come back on and go at him. Now, whether or not Cincinnati gets this defensive line back, but Cincinnati defense played very, very well. And I was kind of surprised. I looked for some cracks in that defensive line, but when you have when that good a defensive team, they cover up for you. I mean, linebackers know where your weakness is, where they got to go, and what they have to do, and they did that.
The guys on the radio were saying they're stacking the box.
Stacking
the box to stop Tennessee's running game, to force them into being more one-dimensional. They kept 8 in the box, kept 5. They had 5 defensive linemen in the game. I mean, you bring 4 defensive linemen into the game, and then you bring a linebacker up maybe. No, they had 5 defensive linemen. They were saying, you know what? If we're going to win this game, this is the way it's going to be done, and it worked. But I agree. I think Cinderella's
I thought Derrick Henry's performance was actually really good. He like 10 yards for 10 carries, 65 yards, and ran in for a touchdown. I mean, he ran out of the Wildcat. Now there's a Wildcatter. I don't even like the Wildcat. I'd use him. But I'm not saying that he didn't. That I didn't see him limp. I didn't see it bothering him. But they did not carry the ball 30, 35 times like he ordinarily would, and that's wise. You don't want to break a horse like that. It's just, he's incredible.
He is.
Yeah.
So we agree.
The Chiefs I think it's going to be the Chiefs and the Rams.
I think you're going to be right. Of course, that's 2 Sundays after the championship games coming up this week. So we'll agree on that, and of course we'll chat more about that. I think we've done the football thing.
We've worn it out. Yeah, but there's
it wasn't good theater.
No, the Saturday and Sunday were as much fun watching football as I can remember.
You might recall here a few weeks ago at the end of the regular season, I said the NFL had to be just smiling with the overtime game on Sunday night, the overtime games in the afternoon, teams making the playoffs, teams not making the playoffs, et cetera, et cetera. The NFL was happier after Sunday. Man, they were just saying, look at the product we can bring you. Look at the ring, what we must have gotten for the,
Oh, and the sports shows Monday morning, they were still gaggling. I mean, it was, we were too. I mean, it's just like.
It's tough not to.
It's tough not to.
It's Wednesday afternoon and we're still, over it. So. All right, let's talk Wild.
Let's do that. They are just insane.
They've turned it on. They kind of fell asleep at the switch a little bit Saturday night on hockey day in Minnesota, and but they found a way to get it into the back of the net again with the goalie pulled, get it in there, and
how many are they? 11, 12 goals?
They said 13 now. I think it's only 12, but my radio thing said 13. I think it's only 12, but either way, it's a bunch. But they did it again. Fiala scores on Saturday night to get it to overtime, and Marcus Foligno is like a scoring machine right now.
He is.
Every time he touches the puck, you think it's going to end up in the back of the net. Ryan Hartman continues hot. Kaprizov gets to 100 points in 92 games for the Wild, fastest ever in franchise history. And the worst part about it is they're 8 points behind Colorado in the standings.
Well, Colorado's got a very good hockey team, but that's just reached playoffs, and a lot of things can happen when that happens. And besides, this hockey season is a long ways from being done.
Well, that's the part that scares me. Is here we are, we're in the same division with Colorado, who's playing out of their minds right now, and you wouldn't think that they could keep playing that way for a long time, but. They are who they are, and it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough down the stretch. Of course, the Wild got their new schedule last week. They're going to fill up the empty days that they were supposed to be taking a break for the Olympics. They added in 5 or 6 games, so they're going to be a busy team coming up over the next few weeks, and that's probably a good thing.
Well,
especially when you're playing hot, when you're good, when you're playing well.
I talked to one of my city gurus, and he says, I haven't watched the Wild in a while. He says, this Russian, this Kaprizov, he's pretty good, huh? And I says, yeah. He says, I saw him. He took the puck, went around the net, couldn't see anything, went around the net again. I says, he does that often. And it's just like, and all of a sudden people are picking up. I haven't seen anybody take 2 laps.
That's since Johnny Austin in the state championship game in 1995. Anyway.
Yeah. It's like one of those things, but people are just now picking up that Kaprizov is a superstar.
I don't think the opposing teams think he'll keep doing it. But he's just like, well, I'm going to keep cycling the puck around. I'm going to keep carrying it around till you guys stop me. They forced me to do something.
We used to have this guy up here, Huffer Christensen. Every time Huffer touched the puck, he put a smile on his face. Kaprizov does the same. Opponents that's got to be scary for him. It really does.
Who's getting the bigger compliment there, Huffer or Kaprizov?
They were both greats. They're both greats.
I would say right now, I think Kaprizov's getting the bigger.
Oh yeah.
The bigger attaboy on that, getting the bigger compliment. Huffer was a heck of a hockey player.
Oh yeah, no, Kaprizov. He's a young man. He's having a good time. He's living in the good U.S. of A. And I mean, he could be over playing with the Moscow Reds, and I think he's happier here.
He's making a heck of a lot more money.
A lot more money.
Not that it's all about the money, folks, but it doesn't hurt when you're making $9 million a year, $10 million a year.
No, it doesn't.
How about Keith Yandle? Can I throw that out there?
Go ahead.
Keith Yandle played his 965th consecutive game last night for the Philadelphia, not all for the Flyers, but he's playing for the Flyers last night. If you think about that.
How many years is that?
That's 12 seasons of not missing a game. He's a defenseman. 12 years he hasn't missed a game.
That's tough.
Okay, Cal Ripken, 2,600, whatever the number is on the end, 22 or 21, whatever the number is. It's a lot. But I would say that baseball is far less physical than the game of hockey. So to say that he played that many consecutive games is crazy.
Oh, as a defenseman.
As a defenseman.
I mean, that's next to enough offensive linemen for the NFL.
That's a pretty good number.
It's
McTinkle-Hoffish.
It is.
Anyway, it's a big number. And I thought when I saw that last night, I was thoroughly impressed. Little college hockey from the weekend. The Gopher women swept Wisconsin, number 1 Wisconsin, Gophers 5. They put everybody on alert. And maybe the Gophers, who weren't doing so well, maybe they're there. It's going to be an interesting finish to the WCHA season. UMD goes to Ohio State, gets a split, so lots of things up in the air.
Well, I watched the Gophers and Michigan on Friday night, and they won that in overtime, and and I saw just a bone-crushing 5-minute major penalty right before then that I think cost Michigan the game, but it really was a fun hockey game to watch.
Well, these teams are so close together, so competitive. It can go either way. Bounce of a puck here, a call there, whatever. But it's interesting to see what's going to happen with the Big Ten. Of course, a lot of these teams are losing players to the Olympics, so that's going to affect the standings coming up here and where everybody's sitting once the playoffs come around. So it's going to be interesting coming up. The Bulldogs played so well Friday night in Omaha and then laid an egg on Saturday. This just shows you got to show up every night and play hockey.
Oh, in that league you do.
NCHC is tough. The surprise of the weekend, I know Miami's not very good. However, St. Cloud State beat them 11-1 and I think 8-1 or 8-0. St. Cloud State must have had everything going in the right direction. So
it'll wrap up and we get closer to playoffs, and you're going to start seeing these teams come about. They were all real good teams last year, and they didn't lose everybody.
Yeah, good stuff coming up.
Yeah.
Well, here it is. We're almost 40 minutes into the show.
Yeah.
We haven't mentioned that Gopher basketball game.
I want to mention the Gopher basketball game against Rutgers.
Just a little bit against Rutgers. Go ahead.
Okay, well, no, it's he had 7 scholarship players. He had 3 of his top 4 scorers on the bench that weren't there. So I asked the guru, where did this Thompson kid come from? And he says, well, Ty Thompson is 6'11". He says, I've been screaming at Johnson to get him some play time since the get-go, and all of a sudden, a game ago, and it was just 2 games he got in, and he played for a few minutes and did real well. And then for Rutgers, he stepped up and joined the Big Ten. He's just a freshman. He had 10 points. I don't know how many rebounds. Now he doesn't have the build that Battle or that Curry have, but he runs the court very well, and
they'll feed him.
They'll feed him. And it's just like I like this lean, like Holmgren type thing where he can shoot the 3. He doesn't have the 3 that Holmgren, but he was a top-rated prospect coming in, and he wanted to come back to Minnesota. He's from here originally, and so I watched him. And first off, right after the game, I called up, and the guru says, "Did you see the greatest game in Gopher history?" So they were calling that, and he says for them to come and to do that, he was just very, very excited, and he was really happy for.
You think Rutgers? You don't think major basketball power?
They got a good team,
but they've got a pretty good team this year, and they've taken down some of the upper teams in the Big Ten. So to get that win, and of course we got to talk about Peyton Willis, right?
Peyton Willis scored
making 8 threes, tying the school record,
32 points, and his high, and for a while he was really pretty unstoppable, and he held them in the game when they couldn't give up on it, and just with 7 guys, that's really tough to do, and so I think all accolades are due those boys, and I'm glad the guru
biggest win in Gopher history. That's a big statement, but
like I said, the guru is just disappointed that he hasn't had any play time, and I want to know what's the matter with him. And so he feels a little bit redeemed.
Guru has to understand that it's just not the lights. You got to come to practice and show it there too. And maybe he's not doing the stuff on the scout team like he's supposed to be. You got to come work every day in practice too. Maybe that's why there's coach's intuition on my part from just what you're saying.
Yeah.
So.
No, it was a great basketball game, and there was stuff kind of rolling in between. So I was channel flipping like a maniac, but I got on the game and watched the game.
You need more TVs, George. That's the key. You need one wall just filled with TVs. Those windows, take the windows out. You don't need the breeze. You can turn on the air conditioner and just put up in the solarium. You got like 8 TVs. I could see it across. Switch your chair over by where the door is at. Lean out the door like this, and you're in heaven.
No, I had 3 this fall watching 3 different games, and Sue came in, and my wife, and she says, there's something the matter here.
No, there's nothing the matter, Sue. It's perfect. It's nirvana. That's what it is. I applaud you, George, for doing what you're doing.
Yeah.
How about the Timberwolves? They're about 500, everybody.
They're about 500.
Again.
They're playing very well. I don't remember the last time that they had prospects this high.
This late in the season? Not saying Portland's any powerhouse by any stretch, but they found a way to win again last night.
They did.
Anthony Edwards only 40 points. This is on a bum leg after he got hurt the other night. They were thinking, this could be a time frame, but obviously he was okay.
Well, I think Edwards is coming into his own as kind of. I mean, basketball. All teams have to have team leaders. Basketball really has to have them, and because there's only 5 of you out there, and on a basketball court, you're really exposed. And so, and Edwards is coming into his own in that category.
I think right now the calming force on that team is D'Angelo Russell. He comes out onto the floor,
Russell too,
and he is not going to allow those young punks that haven't quite learned yet how to do it. But Karl Anthony Towns said it this morning. He's a presence out there that when he has the ball in his hand, he's either going to get to the free throw line or he's going to make the basket. And that's when you got somebody on the team like that that's going to do that. That's a big deal.
Yes, it is.
When your teammates believe in you, and you're not going, well, I think maybe he could make it, or I hope he can make it. No, D'Lo's got the ball. He's going to score. Wow, let's get him the ball. Let's do everything we can to get him open. And get him that
they pass the ball well. They certainly run the court well, and they've been shooting the eyes out of the bucket from time to time. Well, and you kind of got to have that. And when you see, I've said this before, there's NBA, like every other sport, is a sport in transition, and it's generational. And I don't want to take anything away from LeBron or any of the rest of them, but he's getting to be older, and they got kids down here that are just I mean, I don't know how old Steph Curry is, but he's 33. He's 33 years old. He's got a long ways to play basketball yet, and so there's a generational change going on.
He brought up Steph Curry subliminally because he knew that's where I was going to go next, because that's who the Timberwolves play tomorrow night for Thursday night.
And he's back.
Yeah. And Klay Thompson will probably be there. So the Wolves will be on the road. They'll have their hands full, but that's good. Let's hope that they can continue to play well. And
somewhere along the line, they have to beat a good team, and that's kind of the way that goes.
Absolutely. So we'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
Anything else NBA wise?
No, I when football's over, I'll be able to concentrate, and my Sundays can be spent more in the NBA. And it's
I hear you.
Yeah.
I get where you're going with that. Of course, a big wrestling match this weekend.
I am telling you, on 8 o'clock on Friday night, you know where I'll be.
Is that what time it's on?
Yeah.
I hadn't gotten that far.
Yeah, and it's on the Big Ten Network, and we're talking, of course, about Gable Steveson and Mason Parish. Now, I was all pumped about Mason Parish, and then he went and lost last week, and so but they were number 1 and number 2 in the nation, and I thought you could make a pretty good bet thinking that they would meet in the finals of the Big Ten and maybe even the finals of the NCAA's. But Parish lost, and I just know that Gable, he's coming in for a show.
I love the Big Ten Network. On a Friday night, they've got all these good basketball games, and what do they do with them? They gave them to FS1 or Fox Sports. You guys go ahead and take these. We're going to show wrestling on Friday nights. We're going to show wrestling on Friday nights.
Yeah, they are.
I bless you, Big Ten Network. No hockey. Leave the hockey on the other networks. Let them go on to Peacock and everywhere. Put the wrestling on Friday nights. I snuck a peek in taking a trip out of the pool. I came in, turned the TV on. I had something else I had to take care of, and I'm like, hey, the wrestling's on. So I watched a little wrestling in Michigan and Ohio State, Penn State, and who did I miss? Somebody.
Iowa.
And it was good wrestling.
It's good wrestling, and and they have this Big Ten wrestling 60 minutes. So in an hour, they'll give you a duel where, and they remove all
they don't give you take out all that
superfluous stuff.
That stuff in there, riding and...
This match with Michigan is more than just at the heavyweight. This is a good duel for Minnesota. It's a good duel for Michigan.
Yeah, you look at the rankings. I think the Gophers are 13 or 14 this past week. But if you look at the top 25, there's 10 schools in the Big Ten that have wrestling, and I think 10 of them are in the top 25.
They're all tough, and that's. I've been to the Big Ten championships 3 times, and you see some good wrestling.
Yeah, we should have been at US Bank a couple of marches ago. I'm still bummed every time I think about it. That's hard to believe. That's almost 2 years ago that we had that stolen away from us. We'd had the biggest crowd ever for wrestling championships. But
it was keeping me up at night.
So that's the way it goes.
Yeah.
You been watching any tennis?
I watched a couple of rounds, and but then what they did, they threw the doubles in, and and so I didn't know a lot of those people. But now the big boys are starting to come out. And they're in the quarterfinals now.
They're to the semis. They're done with the quarters.
Now?
Semis will start for the women tonight.
Yeah.
On Wednesday.
Yeah.
And Thursday, of course, down under time. And it's crazy. We've got 2 Americans in the semifinals, in Madison Keys and Danielle Collins. So they got a chance. But Ash Barty,
she's blowing everybody away.
She seems right now that she can't be touched. She hasn't been tested through the first 5 rounds, and it seems like she's not going to lose on her home turf.
You see her, she's walking off. She's enjoying this.
Yeah.
She is there to win, and she's not there for any second place thing.
No.
She's really in a zone right now. And
yeah, absolutely. It's been fun to watch. And then, of course, the men, everything's got to go 5 sets apparently. Rafa Nadal makes it through in 5 sets. This morning, Daniil Medvedev had to come down from 2 sets down, took out the Canadian Felix Auger-Aliassime. 5 sets for when Shapovalov from Canada lost to Nadal. He wasn't happy about Nadal stalling. Shock of shocks. Finally, somebody had the guts to say something against the guy who sits there and the human rain delay. They talk about pitchers being a human rain delay. There's Rafa Nadal. Every match he plays, he played for 5 hours. Boy, he stood at the service line for 2.5 of those hours doing this. Can't stand watching the guy. He drives me crazy.
Hey, you better tie those shoes too. That was a wrestling technique. But I have to compliment you on all your pronunciations of all these names. You've been practicing.
I've been practicing. You bet. Absolutely. I listen, and then I even record it on my phone.
Right there, and get it back.
How about Barbara Krachikova? Sit there until it becomes it's interesting stuff. Some of these names are tough, but I'm a big tennis fan. I don't get to watch a lot. It's kind of like golf. Right now, PGA golf is kind of off the radar. There's too much other stuff going on right now. And of course, obviously, there's always good stuff going on with the golf. And as we come in, as the temperature gets warmer and we head towards the majors coming up. But obviously, the Australian Open is a big thing for me in January. You will find me up probably late tonight watching a little tennis on my phone because, like I said, the semis, I think, start at about 1 o'clock in the morning our time. I probably will watch just a wee bit of it overnight, just because like I said, it's one of my, what's the right word? My pleasures of life. You put yourself through a little agony elsewhere, a little less sleep, so you can have a little bit of that. That's what it's.
No, my wife came in and saw me watching throwing axe throwing, and she walked in and says,
You've lost.
Football over? Not football season when this is between sports. Baseball hasn't started yet. She laughs and walks out, But yeah, sports, football, I do have a little bit of addiction problem there. And when it disappears, I get a little shaky.
What else have we got left? What else haven't we covered?
I just do have my one little story.
Oh, yeah. Before you get to that story, that'll be our big finale. I do want to talk Baseball Hall of Fame.
Let's do that.
Are you happy?
Poppy, yes.
You're happy with that decision?
Oh, yes.
You're good with it?
Poppy?
I'm taking the other side of the fence on this one.
Oh, no,
I'm not happy that he's in.
Why?
He's a juicer. He's been a juicer ever since he went to Boston.
Oh,
he cheated his way through, just like Roger Clemens and Barry Bonds, and we're going to let him in.
But they're not.
But he didn't get caught.
They're not the Poppy. He is.
Caught.
He
went from this little scrawny 6'4" guy with the Twins to this mountain of a man. Oh, where did he just start eating better? Did he get in the weight room? Oh
no, he didn't.
No, he was putting the syringe in his thigh, in his arm, and he got. Is this on? Yeah.
Do you remember when the Twins had him?
I do remember. And he couldn't. All he could do was hit a double to the left field. Or to the right field. That's all he could do. Hit it off the baggie. He goes to Boston and he hits 5,000-foot home runs. Jeez, what's the difference? That's what the difference is. So I'm not happy with it.
Do you think that would help me?
Not anymore, George. Sorry. There you go. There's the honest answer on a Wednesday afternoon.
So if they let Clemens in and they let Bonds in and Pete Rose, then we'd be all set.
Yeah, I'm fine with it. Yeah. No, to be honest,
and McGuire,
Barry Bonds will get in someday.
He will.
It's sooner or later, bygones will be bygones. They're going to get Pete Rose in hopefully before he dies. I think it would be a shame if they don't. Roger Clemens someday will go in. Kurt Schilling someday will go in. I some of these I don't understand. Like I said, do I believe Roger Clemens was on steroids? Yes. Do I believe Barry Bonds was on the juice? Absolutely. Do I believe David Ortiz? I'm not kidding. I believe he was on the juice. No doubt about it. And there's probably countless other players that are going to get in. I mean, Sammy Sosa, is he going to get in? He should. I mean, before they did the incredible things that they did on the steroids, look at what they were doing before that. They probably didn't need to do it, but they did it. And so, like I said, before I die, I'm 52, in 25 years, I'm going to be sitting someplace on whatever with my TV on, they're going to say, and today Barry Bonds makes the Hall of Fame. Yeah, it will happen someday.
Yeah,
he was too good of a player before
that's it. He would have been in the Hall of Fame had he not done this.
Roger Clemens would have been in there whether he did it or not. And that's why to me, Pete Rose, yes, he bet on games. He never bet on his team to lose. He only bet on them to win. That's why I think.
There's people in the Hall of Fame that weren't of the strongest character.
Really?
I mean, Ty Cobb.
What?
Ty Cobb was horrid.
He's a bad man, they say.
And he said when they asked him, do you have any regrets? He says, well, I could have been a little nicer, and that's how we viewed that. And so as terms of a total racial bigot, he was the worst.
Yeah, and to be brutally honest, not surprised that Barry Bonds didn't get voted in. Not surprised that Roger Clemens. I mean, I'm not surprised. I was a little bit surprised that David Ortiz went in first ballot, first time, pretty clean, the only one. Go ahead, chortle Boston Red Sox fans, have your fun with it. Be proud of your boy and admit that tell me how much these steroids you guys bought for him. Anyway, okay, let's end on a good note because that was very negative, and I apologize if you're a Red Sox fan.
This is a story for anybody that's ever coached girls basketball.
Hey, whether you coach
or girls basketball or not.
Coach basketball, you coach boys, girls. This is a great story.
This is off of Care 11. This is the New London Spicer 2A girls basketball team. They're ranked number 1 in the state. Okay, the coach got a 1,000 win last night.
He lost last night. He didn't get that.
He lost last night?
He lost 37-25 last night.
Oh, you got to be kidding me.
So he's stuck at 999.
So anyway, they're led by 4 rich sisters. You've got Mackenzie, who's a senior, Courtney, who's a junior, Avery, who's a sophomore, and a young 8th grader named Dakota. They're all coached by Mike Dreyer, who has been coaching for 43 years. He's the winningest girls basketball coach in Minnesota high school history. Mike was the foster parent to the girls' dad, Earl Rich, when he was in high school. So here's Earl Rich, grew up in high school, had no place to live. This guy, who was a bachelor, said he can come here and live with me, and raised him through high school. Well, this guy came back to New London Spicer, and his 4 girls are now playing basketball for this guy's foster dad. And so it was Earl who talked Mike into continuing to coach, so his daughters would be coached by Mike Dreyer. And so this is how intertwined this whole thing gets. They had all four girls on the court last night, or 2 nights ago. And they showed this dad watching his 4 daughters playing basketball, and Mike Dreyer just screaming at him, hustle up, rah, 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 rah. You know, like a lot of basketball coaches do.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, and going back to he was the football coach back in the late or early '80s when the dad of these 4 girls came through school, and like you said, he basically had no place to go, and they formed a relationship, and it's like I said, it's a great story. I read about it someplace either this past summer or this past fall, somewhere along the way. And it's a great story. If you want to go, just type in New London Spicer girls basketball coach,
Carol Evan, or any of these.
Yeah, it'll all come up. It's a great story, and to think that he's going to get it. It's in his 44th season of coaching girls basketball. He's 69 or 70 years old, and he was thinking about retiring and saying, I've had enough. I did what I could.
No, at 60, I think he's 69, and he's still got a lot of energy.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of bus riding.
Yes, there is. Now, you know, New London Spicer, that's where my son-in-law went to school. So I didn't know, I'm sure that he knows these people because, well, they've all been natives there for a long time. And this guy might be about the same age as Pete. So this all comes around. Hey, there's some good things that happen out of there on account of sports.
Sports is a good thing.
Sports is a good thing.
Let us not forget that, even though sometimes
kept me off the streets.
Sometimes we overindulge in it ourselves.
Oh, never me.
I don't know how or why. It just sucks us back in. We run for the door to get out of the vortex, and it sucks us right back in with the next sport. Because you know what it is, George. Today, Mike said on the air, February is really only a half a month because it's so short. And I said, the reason why February is so short is because the March Madness starts in the middle of February because that's when the playoffs start. Girls hockey playoffs start February 12th. Boys hockey playoffs start the 19th. Girls basketball starts February 28th. And so it's just this is high school now. So it just starts sucking you in. Pretty soon March has got half of February is gone. So February only runs for 2 weeks, and then it's March Madness.
Oh, I thought it was a short month because the 28th of February is my wife and my anniversary.
Well,
so that would be showed it right there.
You only celebrate once every.
She's going to Florida. She'll celebrate.
That's okay.
Yeah, I think
and you're going to celebrate by installing those TVs in the solarium.
Yeah,
and when she comes back, she's going to say, beep, 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 beep. George,
Ringer,
George, what are you?
Ringer says I could.
And if Ringer says it's good, then it is so.
Yeah.
Let it be written.
Let it be done.
Thanks, everybody.
We'll catch you next week.